WoW Classic is alien to the trends of modern gaming. Its recent media success, dominating Twitch and other platforms, shows us that many players do crave a sense of meaning in their games, that they're tired with games that frankly try too darn hard to keep them engaged. It shows a yearning for an older way,
trying too hard. That's a good way to look at it.
It reveals a design blind spot, one that is a looming problem and one that will continue to lead to players burning out of video games.
It's about right. I already fucking agree with this.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive episode, the weekly show where we examine the ideas.
I want to go back and I want to just look at this picture again, okay? Just real quick.
Episode, the weekly show where we examine the and welcome back burning out of video games.
1 second, guys, 1 second. There's this idea that some people have that working in a video game is somehow bad because you should never have to work in a game and it's all play. And I really feel bad for that person because there's something that's really fulfilling and good about actually working towards a goal and meeting that goal. And it's like, honestly, more than that person, I feel bad for their fucking employer. You know, like imagine being that guy's employer and this guy just hates fucking work and he doesn't enjoy it at all and he never wants to do it. It's like, yeah, working in a video game. Yeah, I mean, I think effort is basically synonymous with work here. I enjoy working towards goals, even if they're in games. It's meaningful and it's fun. I wish more people realize that.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive episode, the weekly show where we examine the ideas and the practices that drive the industry. World of Warcraft Classic is off to a tremendous start. The beta is crushing it when it comes to the game's usual Twitch numbers, with the culmination of years of campaigning seeming to have paid off for fans of the game and for Blizzard.
Yeah.
So credit to Blizzard for listening to their fans, even though it was not as quick as many would have liked. As I said, WoW Classic is alien to modern gaming trends, including many of the trends that now form the basis of the modern version of World of Warcraft. And this is not the first time that we've seen this happen. Jagex's old school RuneScape, of course, was wildly successful, now far eclipsing the size of the game's more modern version. And all of this begs the question, why are these older games so enjoyable? Why are the modern versions of them not really designed in the way that they were?
Here's why, is because the old games were designed by gamers and the new games are designed by game developers. That's the main thing, is that you have these game developers that have all these fucking bright ideas and all these concepts and things that they learned in school that they think that they know how people think and they work. And also, video games are now just a very elaborately structured way of getting somebody to buy a microtransaction. That's basically what they are nowadays. And it's sad and pathetic, embarrassing and stupid and dumb and everything else like that, but it's also true. That's what video games are. Gaming would be much better understood nowadays if it was renamed to what it actually is, which is gambling. And I've said this a million times. Video games are based around variable reinforcement schedule systems that encourage people to use microtransactions and spend more money on video games than they would normally. It's just embarrassing nowadays. The players are treated like children, and that's because they act like children, and oftentimes they actually are. And the people that are older than that are just as stupid as a kid. And that's all this is. Like, gaming nowadays is fucking disgusting. I hate it. And every game that comes out is the same hollow, heartless, meaningless, soulless game as the next one. Who cares about what happens in the next game? It's always going to be the same thing. Nobody ever wants to try anything new. Nobody ever wants to take risks. We all get to see another fucking version of Call of Duty come out that has the same fucking guns, it does the same fucking thing, and it's the same fucking game. Why are you buying it this year? Because this is Call of Duty 2020 and it's not Call of Duty 2019. Why was Blackout so much better than the other games? It wasn't. It was the same game. Like, they just re-release the same content over and over. There's no new ideas. And Blizzard is no stranger to this, because at BlizzCon 2019, basically the two most anticipated games from Blizzard right now are a game that came out 15 years ago, World of Warcraft, and a game that came out 20 years ago, Warcraft 3. There's no original thought anymore because people can't, the prophets can't predict original thought. Like, so you don't, yes, it's the same reason with like movies. right? Like, you don't see people taking risks in movies hardly anymore. They're always rebooting something. Oh, let's see if we can, squeeze the last bits of life out of the Lion King by having, instead of Simba, let's just have a CGI lion and call him Simba, and he's going to be the new Lion King. And let's have Aladdin, and we're just going to make Aladdin with a live-action movie. Well, fuck making a new movie. No, we're not going to do that anymore. And it's not like new movies don't do well. Look at Frozen. Frozen did amazing. I didn't watch it, but there's a lot of 9-year-old girls that fucking loved it. Still mad about The Lion King? Because it's literally a lion. Like, you could probably, whenever The Lion King comes out, you could have David Attenborough narrate over the entire thing, remove all of the dialogue, and it would probably be a better documentary than half of the shit that's on, CBS or whatever the hell. Like, it's embarrassing.
The core of what makes people feel good about playing games.
Yeah.
Well, for that, I'll need my copy of Ray Dalio's Principles. It's one of my favorite books, and yes, I am bringing a business management book from a hedge fund manager into a gaming video. Work Principle 2. Cultivate meaningful work and meaningful relationships.
Is there any game besides Classic WoW that emphasizes that more? Like this right here. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting to see for years. OSRS? Yeah, OSRS is another good example. Like, it's extremely common. I wish that more people didn't, they saw this. Fortnite? Man, the last time I tried to make a friend on Fortnite, he wanted me to subscribe to his YouTube channel. He had 18 subscribers. Like, you're not going to make any fucking friends on Fortnite. You make followers on Fortnite, not friends.
Meaningful work.
Get summons out whenever we get a warlock over
I would argue that those things are the pillars of what made World of Warcraft successful. It was never successful because it had hyper-engaging, fun gameplay.
Somebody
realizes. It was
realizes.
successful because people felt like their work in the game built towards something important, and that their social bonds within the game meant something. If a game is to be played for thousands of hours, then it had better fulfill the requirements of meaningful work and meaningful relationship. For those are the things that provide a lasting benefit, far more than just a quick hit of fun. Make no mistake, much of classic World of Warcraft is work. Now, what is work anyway? Really,
it's not work,
is just
it's a chore.
Doing something, typically for some value in return, be it gardening for happiness, crunching numbers at work for dollars, or tidying the house for peace of mind. We humans, we are beasts of burden. We crave meaningful work. Video games can sometimes provide this by creating a clear hierarchy for
Imagine, just as soon as he talks about meaningful games and good games, he just cuts over the path of exile. Well, I wonder if that was an accident or not. Think about that.
Individuals to progress up, as well as by providing numerous paths of progression. All things that allow for that feeling of meaningful work. Just, unlike the work of your day job, it's actually work that's designed to also be a bit more fun and a bit more engaging.
Imagine having
fun.
fun.
You'll soon see how this ended up backfiring on Blizzard. As for meaningful relationships, well, that's our friends, it's our guilds, and it's totally self-explanatory.
Yep.
For a game like World of Warcraft Classic, Old School RuneScape, or EVE Online, I think that Work Principle 2 from Ray Dalio's Principles is pretty much a target for designers to hit. Here's where things can go wrong. Indeed, it's where Blizzard and where Jagex seem to have went wrong with the modern versions of their games.
RuneScape 3.
Instant gratification brain drugs. Okay, modern games, more and more, are designed to give you a quick hit and to be attention-grabbing, to give you a really fun 15 minutes you can quickly grab. As time has went on, games have incorporated far more instant gratification mechanics. Things like achievements, faster leveling times, more streamlined systems with a super clear path to victory. Modern World of Warcraft is a game about instant gratification at worst. Still does have many great elements.
It's all about instant gratification. That's what it's always been about. And it's like, that's why they have all these literal pop-ups. I forgot really where this was, but I remember them calling the Mythic Plus cache a jackpot as a placeholder name. It was a jackpot or a sweepstakes or something like that. It's just insane, and I don't know really how this is going to happen, but it's extremely annoying, and I don't really know what exactly to do, because there are so many people that like this, and I don't know how to get them to come over to the right side. Yeah, I fucked up hard? Yeah, they sure did, man. It's awful. Fucking a jackpot.
Elements at best, but at worst, it does a lot of that. For an example, in that game, when loot drops, it has a chance to roll at a higher item level, just a random reward for participating, a variable reward system. Your big influx of gear is a weekly random chest that's based off the last week's highest level dungeon you did. The classes have a cut down number of abilities and are generally a bit more streamlined, just following a more defined design. Everything's a bit faster, with far more randomness. The link between the time you put in and the results you get is rather different to how it was in the past. Overall, it's faster, but with gameplay being fairly tunneled into the most efficient areas and the potential for positive or negative RNG to impact your results far more so than in the past. And these are all trends that we see carry over to the rest of gaming. Now, play just about any modern game and you will see how they're all about creating the most exciting quick hit that they can.
They're about creating, you know what that 950 is, guys? That's money. So you spend money. Like that's what this actually is. It's 950 money. Now, that's what it's all about. Is like convincing some 12-year-old that has 18 different disorders and he actually doesn't have any of them. It's just his mom is a very bad parent and just takes him to the doctor to rationalize why their kid keeps fucking up every day. And this kid's flipping up and flying around, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's in school, he's moving his arms around in weird ways. Nobody knows why the fuck he's moving his arms around, but he's doing it for attention because his dad doesn't live with him, and he's fucking pissed off all the time. And he comes home, and he plays Apex, and he sees that battle pass pop up, and he's like, oh my god. He runs into his mom's room, his mom's gone, she's out drinking with her friends because it's already 3 p.m. And he steals her credit card, he buys the battle pass, and mom never figures it out. Like, that's what it's all about nowadays. That's the entire thing. That is gaming nowadays, right here. The battle pass, the money, it's disgusting.
Something you'll notice is how they try to grab you in and how quickly they tend to do that. It's often through fast initial progression, various bonuses, that sort of thing, you know, essentially a highly juiced progression system that's front-loaded, plus longer-term consistent rewards such as Overwatch's loot crates. Why it leans so hard into these things instead of just the core gameplay being its own reward?
Money.
Well,
that's
more
why.
so than ever, games are competing for watch time. They're competing against each other. They're competing against Netflix. Companies are going for grand mono-game live service plans that hook you for an extremely long period of time. You get the picture. More than ever, we are constantly bombarded and overstimulated by things that are trying to worm their way into our brains. And really, here's the fundamental issue that we come up against here. One that may explain how many gamers often feel these days. That strange feeling of being excited about a game, you know, playing it for maybe 10 hours, and then just having the glass shatter with all motivation dissipating. I'm sure you've all felt that.
That's exactly right. I've felt that with so many fucking games. I'll want to play it, and then I'll play it, and I'll be like, this sucks, I don't care. Like, that happens to me all the time. And why is that? Why does it suck? Why do I not care? It's because the game's fucking dog shit. Like, who cares? Like, I log on to a game. Sometimes I literally will just open the game, and I will already turn it off because I don't care. I think that's partially me, but whenever I play a game, do you guys ever get this feeling? I don't know about you guys, but me. At a certain point, I ask myself, I have like an existential crisis. What am I doing with my life playing this game right now? And whenever I get to that point, I stop playing the game. I immediately quit the game. Like that's all it really comes down to. Like I quit the game immediately because I don't care about it. And that's really what it comes down to. I just don't care about it.
Cases, this is down to something called the over-justification effect. What is this? Well, it's an effect where an external reward can actually decrease somebody's intrinsic motivation to do something. How does this work? Well, it's down to the difference between an intrinsic and extrinsic reward. Now, an intrinsic reward, that is like the inherent motivation for doing something. For an example,
getting better at the game.
Gardening outside because it brings you joy, or playing Unreal Tournament purely for the joy of becoming more skilled at the game. An extrinsic reward, well, that is you doing the same thing, but doing it for an external reward. So playing a game, not to get skill, but to earn a skin, or doing that gardening, but doing it for money. And what happens is, over time, your motivation for doing that activity fundamentally shifts away from the intrinsic reason to the extrinsic one. And when
achievements.
you run out of extrinsic rewards to earn, then the intrinsic motivation more often than not, does not come back, and you end up losing motivation entirely. And I believe this is what leads to a lot of abandonment in modern games. You play Destiny 2, you enjoy the gameplay, you enjoy the rewards, but then you hit the point in the gear curve where the extrinsic rewards are no longer that exciting, and suddenly all motivation to partake in the game just
nobody cares.
You unlock all the guns in Call of Duty, and then you get bored. Now, some of this is just going to be inherent to video games. Indeed, the systemic aspects of the RPG genre have long had external rewards for completing activities, often things tied to your character's progression. And indeed, that's one of the reasons why you will have seen so many games adopt role-playing game-like systems of progression. Now, a degree of this is inevitable, but what's happening is that the extrinsic rewards are being pushed further and further and further. Taking it back to World of Warcraft, it's not enough in Battle for Azeroth to defeat a boss and have a chance of getting gear. No, you have a chance of getting gear, and then that gear has the chance to roll at a higher quality level, so you can get another little yip yip wahoo of excitement. It's not enough to slowly work towards earning some gear. Instead, you've got to log in, and you've got to find the game littered with world quests that will definitely give you gear, and a big checklist of high time efficiency rewards and weeklies to do. Yet, once you're through your daily lot, often the motivation to continue playing just dissipates wholesale. And I would argue that World of Warcraft right now is largely experiencing the negative effects of having highly juiced extrinsic rewards. You know, it's flogging a dead horse. It's squeezing, like juicing an orange, and then putting the pulp of the orange back in the juicer, trying to get more. At some point, it just doesn't work. The overjustification effect, I believe, is an impending problem for the industry, especially...
You guys think that's true? Like, WoW has too many extrinsic rewards? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. What do you think? Yes? I like having a lot of really cool rewards in the game, but yeah, I mean, maybe we're at the point where there's just so many different reward structures that people just get overwhelmed. And I think that it's really like, this is like a secondary problem to WoW. And I think it's a primary problem for a lot of other games, but like the main problem for WoW is there's just like no socialization. So like even if you have like all these really cool mounts, like that's why I think the mount offs are so popular, is because people get to watch the mount offs and see all these guys with really, really badass mounts and everything, and that person gets to show off that thing that they have that they never really get another chance to. And back in like vanilla BC Wrath, if you had a mount or like a really cool like set of armor, everybody would see that and they'd know that you're better than they are. But nowadays it's not the case, and I think that's really what the what's missing is, even if you have the extrinsic rewards, you need to have a place to show those off, and WoW doesn't really have that anymore because there's so many of them. Every single one is watered down.
Now that more games have shifted over to being live services that are almost predicated by the need to have a week after week extrinsic reward for you to get. Now, why do this? Are designers stupid? Do they not understand? Hell no. They are smart people and they do understand, but in many ways I feel like they're forced into it. So why, especially when there are clear long-term...
I don't think that a lot of the designers really do know what they're doing. At some points, it's not... Would other designers do a better job? The real question is, could a random group of people do a better job? Just open up the phone book and take the top 50 people and say, hey, here you go, design the game. And I think that half the time, it'd probably end up better than where we started.
Downsides to such an over-the-top method of rewarding players and getting them to play your game? Well, the thing is that those highly juiced extrinsic reward systems, they're great at grabbing players' attention, giving them instant gratification, and giving them a strong initial experience. In World of Warcraft, you know, you hit max level and you quickly get a whole bunch of gear. It's
exciting.
Fun. In Destiny, you know, you hit the soft cap, you get a bunch of gear, it's fun.
Super
a designer
exciting.
may know that they can't push that system too far, but they also know that they are in competition with games that will push as hard as they can with instant gratification. In the battle for watch time and initial success, you've got to use every single trick in the book, and that's why I think a lot of designers feel pigeonholed into using these systems. Now, contrast it to Classic WoW or to RuneScape 2007. Back in Classic, well, it was just very slow. You know, bosses dropped less loot, but there was no RNG past the bit of loot dropping. Same goes for leveling, it was slow. Dungeons, it was all a lot slower. All of that.
People, they act like it's different. It's not different between, like, then and now. Oh, well, but, you know, you want to have the bosses just drop all the loot every time. You just don't want any RNG. Titan Forging's fine. What do you mean? We always had RNG. You know, imagine thinking that it's anywhere in the same fucking universe for you to have a binary drop or doesn't drop versus did it drop? Did it Titan Forge? Did it Warforge? Did it Titan Forge 2? Did it Titan Forge 3? Did it have a socket? Did it have the tertiary? Did it have them all at the 3 times? No, it didn't? Well, fuck you. Do it again next week, idiot. That's the way it is. Yeah, it's like, imagine, it's like the difference between a point, it's the difference between like an 8% drop chance and a 0.000000000, I might be right, honestly, 8% drop chance. Like, it's insane. Diablo 3 is the best example of instant gratification. Well, exactly. You start playing Diablo, do like this. You hit somebody for like 7, it's like, wow. You get up to 70, now you're hitting for 7 trillion, it's like, man, my damage sucks. Imagine that power growth curve. You get your full set in like maybe 20 hours of gameplay. That's it. Now what? Now you're just farming for the same fucking bullshit over and over. Diablo's the worst offender of this. And let's see how's Diablo doing right now on Twitch or on Twitter. I don't, you know, who cares? Everybody knows Diablo's dead. I don't need to prove it.
That stuff. It was a slow burn, and the social dynamics were totally different. You were locked onto your server with a limited number of people you could play with. The social dynamics mattered a lot more. Guilds mattered a lot more. There were no matchmaking features. Everything was manual, all in a shared world with no sharding. Yep. Extrinsic rewards did exist, and it was a finite game, but the pacing was a good bit slower. And because of the solid enough content and the emphasis and team play, Classic was able to provide what I mentioned at the start of this video as being a pillar of a long-lasting game: the ability to provide and maintain meaningful work and meaningful relationships. Old school RuneScape actually has a massive advantage over...
You said you are playing off-stream D3 too, mate. What's up? Diablo 4 life. No, I did not say that. I don't even have Diablo installed on my computer. There's a higher chance of me playing Diablo Immortal for the meme while I'm taking a shit. Because, you know, I think Diablo Immortal and shit would have something in common, considering they're the same fucking thing, probably, than me ever playing Diablo 3 again. I never said I was playing Diablo 3 off stream. The last time I played Diablo 3 was in Season 6. 3 years ago. 2 years ago.
For Classic WoW in my book, and that is that it's more of a sandbox. Sure, Classic is more of a sandbox than Battle for Azeroth, the most recent WoW expansion,
it is.
But it's fundamentally a theme park MMO. Old school RuneScape has a more vibrant economy and player-driven systems, and while it does have some theme park elements, that sandbox can keep it ticking on the back of player-generated interactions for far longer. I think the ultimate example of all this is EVE Online. Yes, it's a niche game, but it's a game that's had a remarkably consistent number of players for a long time, averaging 35k players online for the last 4 years, showing incredible retention. So in a world where EVE is just so consistent, where old school RuneScape is doing better than modern RuneScape, and WoW Classic seems to be trending so well, why do we not see more games designed like that? Well, I think there's a large problem, sort of attention economy, attention competition. Those short-term hits from many of the modern games, they're really potent. They are hard for a purposefully designed slow burn game to compete against. A game just like WoW Classic would probably...
No, it's not. Because you look at how successful WoW Classic is. Like, everybody's wanted this forever. It's not as simple as, oh, the other games are just better. Like, the games like WoW Classic are just going to blow those other games out of the water because they're better. They have consistent growth, whereas the other games are like, woohoo! And then nobody cares.
Probably struggle. But the thing is that with WoW Classic, people have already bought into the notion of it because of their history with the game. They're already on board, and the same goes for old school RuneScape. It seems like going to extreme lengths to win the attention economy will often come at the expense of a game's ability to, over the long term, provide meaningful work and meaningful relationships to their players. Now, all of that said, and this might seem a bit grim, but I don't think it's all bad. Classic shows us a hunger for the old, more intrinsically motivated way. Indeed, players seem to be getting tired of being bombarded with all the attention-grabbing, very transparent psychological tricks of many modern titles. Indies certainly do seem to be filling the gap well, and who knows, if WoW Classic continues to do well, perhaps Blizzard will learn. They certainly have suggested that they are paying close attention to WoW Classic and they're thinking about what they can learn from it, and maybe other companies will sort of catch the hint. I'd love to know what you think about this, about the meaningful work and the meaningful relationships and the over-justification effect. For me, like, have you ever had that feeling? It's just you play a game, you're super motivated, and suddenly the glass shatters. And maybe you feel like me that this just happens more and more these days than it sort of did in the past. Is that rose-tinted goggles, or is that design trends shifting over time
in my opinion,
being more engaging up front, but somehow just losing that long-lasting appeal? I'm not 100% sure on the last point, so please let me know what you think. A massive thank you to everyone who supports this channel, especially the patrons who especially make the deep dive series possible to do. And yeah, just thank you very much for watching. And with that, I'll see you next time.
My killers will not take no for that.